and good evening. I'm Melisa Idris. Welcome to The Future is Female. This is the show where we find the extraordinary in every woman. I am today at the School of International Studies at University Utara Malaysia, where I'm joined by Dr. Ummu Atiyah Ahmad Zakuan, who is an associate professor here. Her research interests include women in political parties and in political office. Now, in 2001, she received the National Book Award for Best Book in Political Science for the book Women in the House, Leadership in the Malaysian Parliament. And she's been involved in numerous international and national level research projects involving women and leadership, and currently serves as the Deputy Chair of WANIDA, which is the Coalition of Kedah Women's Association. I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Ummu Atiyah to the show. Hello, Dr. Ummu. How are you?
Hello, good. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to be here in the School of International Studies at UUM. And I have long wanted to talk to you about your research, which I often cite in my own reporting when I speak about representation and gender equality in politics and representation in Parliament. I want to ask you how you got involved in this area. What was what initially sparked your interest to research women in political office?
Thank you, Mel. First of all, I would like to welcome you to our green campus.
Thank you.
You and your team. I hope you like it. It's very peaceful.
It is.
Okay, referring to your question, I think I would like to reflect my previous years, during my PhD period. At that time, I was researching my topic, actually. I always have this soft spot for women in politics because I was raised by my father is a politician, right? So I was exposed to the area already. But seriously speaking, when I was researching about the PhD topic, I aware of the discourse globally, the discourse about the importance of having women in politics. We need to have the numbers, so we need to have a critical women, So with that of background, I start my research. But the turning point was actually when I read the Hansard, when I read the debates in the Parliament. So back then, I remember precisely in 2007 and 8, because maybe my own understanding about parliamentary operation was not that good at that time. Parliament was distant to me, I know where is the Parliament.
But how does it relate to your life, right?
So, okay, let they do their work. But the moment I read the debate, I was so surprised to learn that, oh my God, these people are actually talking about us. These people are actually debating, negotiating, and it will impact our lives. And what was really interesting when I see how the female MPs debate, what issue they raise, for instance. And then I realized, oh my God, they are so important. And then my husband will be the victim. Of course, I call him, do you know what they speak? I'll call my husband, I'll call my close friend, my sibling, because it was so overwhelmed. The feeling was so overwhelmed, knowingly that this representative is actually talking about our lives.
Right.
And when I look at the women MPs, they talk about the importance of childcare, not only childcare per se, but they really deep dive to see what if the children are disabled?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is if we have poor community?
So you liked what the women MPs were raising in Parliament.
Exactly. Yes.
So that triggered the question in you: why aren't there more women?
Exactly.
In Parliament?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So then you looked into how to increase women in Parliament.
And at the same time, I want people to know that they are important. They are mandatory in the system. I don't think that the average public have this awareness as I have. Who will read the parliamentary report?
Yes, that's right.
Isn't it right?
Very rare.
Yeah, very rare. So I want them to understand that we need more of them in the parliament, so that all of our voices on the ground will be spoken.
So how?
in the
where do we stand currently? How many women do we have in our Dewan Rakyat, Dewan Negara, and also at the state level? Because we're heading into the state elections. What's our current report card?
Okay, so we are actually performing very poorly, especially in the post GE 15. So like in the Dewan Rakyat, we had 32. And in the post GE 15, we have only 30. So we are actually moving backward. That is the federal story. The same goes to the Dewan Negara, where it is actually by appointment. But still, we see not many of them are in the Dewan Negara. Is even less than 15% as well. And it is even worse, Melisa, in the state assemblies.
Wow.
So I'm not very happy. I'm sure other women, especially those in the movement, I can say movement, yeah. So we are not very happy. This is a huge alarm that everybody should think very seriously that something needs to be done.
Help me understand why, because the movement is not new in Malaysia, right? You pointed out that the movement goes way back to the, even before independence, right? There has been this call for more representation of women in public and political life. Why is it that despite, and even recently we see Pantau PRU and calls for at least 30% women representation in political life and political office, why is it that we don't see this and we have fallen so short of our target?
That is a very difficult question, but very relevant question. From my observation, it might be some people might disagree with me. It was, of course, spoken long time before, even before the independence. We can see like a strong feminist leader. We can say feminist in her own.
Who's the one that you always cite?
Khadijah Siddiq.
Khadijah Siddiq,
you imagine,
that's right.
Yeah, in the early 50s, she was already brave enough, to come and contest the masses, the male audience, claiming the space for women leadership. So, however, I can see we had some efforts. For instance, the introduction of policy of 30% women in the public sector in 2004, and then later on we expand to the corporate sector by in 2011 to be achieved by 2016. But then you can see that the efforts are taken or not as progressive as what we want, Melisa. And of course there are discourse about this, but it seems that the movement that I said are not very strong and not solid. That's why we actually previously, before the PRU 15, we managed to approach the Ministry of Women through the former minister, Datuk Sri Rina Harun. She was very kind enough, to accept the call. And for the first time, in the longest period of time, that was the first time the discourse of women low political representation was made up at the national level. That was the first time, Melisa. And then, so we believe that through Pantau PRU 15, we believe that this discourse should be continued. Otherwise, who will do that? Who will do that?
That's right. Okay. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about how and why there is low representation of women in political life. So part of your research is to think about strategies at the federal level, at the state level, at the political party level, and also in the home level, society level, in the home level. Let's go through each, and I want to focus in on maybe political parties, because a large part of the way candidates are selected for elections, and the way young women leaders rise up in the ranks is determined by the culture in a political party. Talk to me about what you found within the structure of political parties. What prohibits women from rising? What encourages women to rise?
All right. In my current research, which I think could be labeled as nationwide research, because we wanted to see what is the problem. what is the problem? We have seen amazing women, right, in the corporate sector. We have seen women in the civil society. We have more than 60% women in the university.
Yes.
So we are the trained human resource, isn't it? But then at the certain sectors, especially at the decision-making level, women are not there. So I think it is such a waste to our country. So then again, it was started by the conversation with me and Cass, with Conrad. Let's find out what is actually, is there any new problems? So to my disappointment personally, I found that the problem are the same. So it gave me the idea that you're not doing enough.
The problems are the same from previously.
From the previous.
So we haven't made any changes or improvements.
That big changes. For instance, from the finding, it was cited as the gender roles. The gender role has become a huge obstacle for women in politics, specific in political party, because the gender role that you have mentioned before, it is still strong in the setting of families. So women are still traditionally confined to the domestic role. Even the dynamic of family have changed. Women are now working, but then still they are being burdened by this dual, this domestic role. And that role is actually being contextualized into the political parties.
In what way?
In what way? In a way that women are not seen as a possible or potential leaders. Yeah, you are supporters, you are followers. This is not new, Melisa.
You are
seriously.
grassroots organizers. So one of the things that I found fascinating about your research was one of the respondents, anonymously of course, mentioned that yes, they are really active in the party, but they're active in organizing, active in cleaning up afterwards, active in taking minutes. Not part of the actual decision making.
Exactly. So when I talk to them, you can see the frustration. You know, it's the joy of doing this research, because I can see them, you know, face to face. I can see the body language. There are frustration among them. These women are educated women. They are highly trained. They have plans, but then they are being like neglected or abandoned,
overlooked for other men in the party.
Yes, and sometimes they are being seen as a challenge to the current status quo, you know, in the party.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So that's why we need to do something about this. It is not only about introducing laws and legislation, which is very important. That facility is very, very important. Otherwise, we cannot penetrate, we cannot break the systemic structure, you know. We need that. And at the same time, we need other avenue as well, like introducing new norms, new culture, like you embrace equality, you know, in the party.
So within political parties, what can they do to specifically break this cycle? Because you talked a little bit about the women are not perceived as leaders, and I think it is often used as an excuse by the party leader or the people who make the decision about who to field, who to nominate, who to encourage up the ranks. There's an efficacy gap, which you highlighted in your research as well, that maybe women are not seen to be capable leaders. But for as long as they're not given a chance to be a leader, you won't know how capable they are.
Yeah.
How do we break that terrible barrier?
All right. Okay, this is actually, we need an integrated approach to deal with these political efficacy issues. When we talk about efficacy, especially in the context of political efficacy, it means that the women have the confidence, you know, that they have the ability and capability to do something towards the political process, and they believe that they can make change. However, in my finding, I found that they lack of confidence. Yeah, they lack of confidence. Why they lack of confidence? Because they lack of various knowledge, political related knowledge, national development, various policies related to our national development. So they lack of these particular areas, and they also lack of certain skills.
I can also say that a lot of men lack those
Yeah.
skills as well, but yet they are still in positions of power.
I'm about to say that as well, because this is not a comparative study, so I do not know the state of men. I do not want to make assumptions, right? But yeah, true enough, from our observation, we can see people do not question men's ability, capability, right?
Whether they have the right skills or knowledge, right, to be in that position.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why to deal with this, I think political party need to do continuous capacity building, not only to the women but to men, because you need to have equality members, so that your party will be strong. And political party is actually important to our country. Let me try to make this point. We believe that, okay, we are not in any political party, right? So we have nothing to do with political party. But you have to remember, when political parties, when they win the election, they become the government. They set the agenda of the nation. So if you give the opportunity, the platform for untrained people, you imagine what kind of policy we have, how they are going to bring our nation. So we, starting from now, we have to have this mindset that they are important. We have to get to know them. We have to really engage with them.
Yeah, I think the voice, the will of the people in demanding for this will make that change within political parties as well.
Yes.
I also wanted to ask you, because sometimes political parties do this checklist thing. Just, okay, I have a few women candidate, checklist, almost like tokenism. How do we create that critical mass? Because it's not enough that there's one woman at the table trying to speak up against inequality, but you have to have critical mass of women to speak up against a culture that doesn't provide for equality.
Yeah. So to rectify that, we need legislation. Seriously, we need legislation, because
it has to be law.
It has to be law. It has to be. I am a staunch proponent of law. Because when you wanted to really make a transformative change, you need legal framework. Because when you say legal framework, you have what are the content of it, who will do that, you have the objective, you have the strategic planning, you have everything there, and to the extent you have the monitoring crew as well, So if we do not have that, people will accept this as a recommendation,
a guideline,
and advice.
Do if you can, if cannot, there's no penalty.
It's okay, right? But when you have law, it's a very serious call for you to make that change, and you have to do that change.
Dr. Ummu, what kind of law are you referring to?
All right. Last week, I had the chance to participate in the Southeast Asia regional engagement, on, of course, this, women political representation on quota. So we learned a lesson from Indonesia. It was amazing.
Indonesia has a gender quota?
Yeah, they have. Indonesia and Philippines, these are the only two countries in Southeast Asia
that has gender quota.
Yeah, they have gender quota, and they have penalty. Like Indonesia, when they introduced it, it was in the year of 2000. I think precisely the year of 2000. It was an advice. It was like, okay, it's good to have. You need to have 30% of women in your candidates list. This is called electoral quota.
Okay.
Yeah, electoral quota. We don't have that. We don't have that in Malaysia. We don't have that.
So 20 years ago, Indonesia wanted to increase the representation of women in politics and made a quota for their candidate list.
Candidate list. It is called electoral quota.
Electoral quota, okay.
So meaning to say that for a party to contest in election, you must have at least 30% of women candidates in your candidates list. If you fail to do that, you cannot contest in the election.
Wow.
Yes. And if I follow correctly, in the year of 2003, they make it very strict. So it started by advice. Yeah, so it's not easy.
So step by step,
Step by step. Yeah. And from their narrative, from their sharing, it needs the whole village to work. It needs the whole society to work. The government is on the table. The NGO is on the table. The Electoral Commission is very active. the MPs, the researchers, everybody, have to have their footprints in the movement. And I saw it is such a very nationalistic, maybe it's my interpretation, yeah? It's a nationalistic mission, it's a national mission. Everybody is moving towards that direction. Fantastic. I mean, I'm very inspired, when learning from them, their experience. And they also alarm us. It's not easy, but it is not impossible. It is possible. Media also play a role. So to the extent that, Melisa, they knock every door of every MPs, telling them the benefits of quota. They knock every door. Men also on board. So we cannot do this without men, because they are the gatekeeper, they hold the keys. So, and our job now is actually to tell the citizen of Malaysia that gender equality is nothing wrong with it. It's good for everybody. Because when you contextualize gender equality in your policies, in your planning, in your project, you will make sure that men and women are not left behind, because our concern and problems are not similar. So by using this gender equality lens, everybody will be happy,
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that we actually have such a close to home example of what we can achieve, what it could look like. What do you think we Malaysians need to do? Because you said it's not going to be an easy journey. The road is very long.
Yes.
Where do we head from here? What is the way forward? We can't build this law overnight.
Exactly.
But where do we go from here?
So, that's actually been in my brain for so long, especially after the Europe visit, right? So we already have the framework. At least we have the policy statement of 30%. But now what we need to do is we need to transform it to a full-fledged policy. Meaning to say, when we have full-fledged policy, it has a detail, a substance of it. Like, what is the strategic planning? We know who is going to take charge. In Indonesia, the one who monitor this one is the Women Caucus.
We need a women's caucus in Parliament.
In Parliament, yes. That's why when I hear their sharing, we have that.
We have that.
We
have easy wins that we can achieve.
Exactly.
Okay.
So what I'm seeing now, Pantau PRA 15 is a very promising stakeholder, because it's non-partisan, and we have various multi-stakeholder with us. So I think we can start with Pantau PRA 15 to start the negotiation, to start the engagement, I think this is a very good platform that can be improved and upgraded. To be the main force for this goal.
Dr. Ummu, we're heading into election fever again, this state elections. What would you like people watching today to think about when, during this period, about the candidates that they might be voting for, about how to cast their ballot, how to respond to campaign narratives? Sometimes women, there's always a lot of gender-based violence within the campaigning period, online and in real life. So maybe, what advice would you have people consider?
All right. The first one, my message to the political parties, of course, is a call to all political parties. We understand the contestation, the competition between coalition to coalition, and within the coalition itself, because you have various political parties within the coalition, right? And of course, the competition of seats will be very intense. So I'm seeing in this particular competition, often women will be left behind, because you'll prioritize your party and those who are close to the top position leaders, because it is in the research, it has stated that, it's not just a mere accusation, right? So I hope, on behalf of Pantau PRA 15, we wanted to call you, all parties, not to sacrifice women in your competition and negotiation for seats. Secondly, also to political parties, because if you look at women candidates, even in the previous election, you see that the one who win the election, the one who won the seats, you can see that in their records, they won again. If they were nominated, it shows that they won again. Why they won again? Ask yourself. Because they really perform well. I wanted to recall you to the experience of PRU 14 in 2018. In the case of UMNO, for instance, where they collapsed. Even though majority of men lost, but you can see that women prevail. Azalina prevail, Noraini prevail, Halimah prevail. Why they prevail? Think about that. So women, by theoretical and practical, actually are very close to the ground. They are they're alert to the ground. So they can do the work better. I mean, at best. So to all
political
voters,
parties, now voters.
Yeah, to the
Message to
voters, yeah. So I want you to really think about the benefits that you'll get when you vote a certain candidates. I hope that you get out from the narrow sentiment, or even to the extent that only men can be best represent you. Look at your ecosystem. Before this, we have maybe male MPs or male adun, how they perform. So think about that, and if you have female candidates in your DUN, try to give them opportunity. You will not be disappointed. I can guarantee you, because it's from my research that majority of them actually really perform. You can read my book. You can see that they are really active, forwarding your interests, infrastructural, a lot of things. Health-wise. I'm sure that if we give them more space in this election, we change the discourse of the politics. We change the game. We want to have a fresh and then a good situation in our country, in our state, right? So give them a chance and look what you'll see.
Dr. Ummu, thank you so much for being on the show with me. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Melisa.
That's all we have for you on this episode of The Future is Female. I will be back with you same time next week. Thank you so much for watching, and good night.